Every farmer in Hardin County, Iowa had a place where he put things that were too broken to fix and too heavy to haul away. A fence corner, a tree line, the back of the barn where the weeds grew high enough to hide what was there. It's one of the quiet embarrassments of farming. The accumulation of failure, a plow blade that cracked, a hydraulic cylinder that blew, an engine block that seized because someone forgot to check the oil on the wrong day. These things don't disappear when they stop working. They sit where they die, rusting slowly, sinking into the ground, becoming part of the landscape like tombstones for machines that gave everything they had. Most farmers hated looking at their dead equipment. It reminded them of bad seasons, bad luck, bad decisions. So they pushed it out of sight, or they hauled it to a ravine, or they called the scrap man who came through twice a year with a flatbed and paid $8 a ton for anything made of iron. But there was one farmer in Hardin County who didn't hate his dead equipment. He loved it. He collected it. He cataloged it. He organized it with a precision that would have impressed a librarian. And for 20 years, everybody laughed at him for it. This is the story of Roy Hassel and the junkyard that saved a county. Hardin County sits in the heart of central Iowa. Rich, flat, black soil prairie that grows corn and soybeans the way other places grow weeds. In 1966, the county had about 600 active farms, 2 grain elevators, a feed mill, a bank, a co-op, and a John Deere dealership in Eldora, run by a man named Merle Gustafson, who believed that the only good equipment was new equipment and the only good farmer was the one writing the check. Roy Hassel was 53 years old and had farmed 240 acres on the east side of the county since 1937, the year he took over from his father, who'd taken over from his father, who'd homesteaded the land in 1879. 3 generations of Hassels on the same ground, 240 acres. Never more, never less. The farm had one unusual feature, a ravine. A deep, steep-sided gully that ran for about 300 yards along the north boundary of the property, carved by a creek that had long since changed course. The ravine was maybe 40 feet wide and 20 feet deep, too steep to plant, too rocky to graze, too irregular to do anything useful with. It was, by any farmer's estimation, wasted ground. Roy's father had used it as a dump. When a piece of equipment died, it went into the ravine. By the time Roy took over the farm, there were already a dozen pieces of machinery down there. A horse-drawn cultivator from the 1910s, 2 farm all-regular tractors from the 30s, a threshing machine frame, various plows and harrows, iron ghosts of his father's farming life. Most men would have called the scrap dealer and cleared it out. Roy did the opposite. He started adding to it. Not randomly, not carelessly. Roy Hassel had a system. It started in '66 with a neighbor named Carl Hinton, who'd bought a new John Deere 420 and wanted to get rid of his old farm all 460. The 460 had a cracked block, unusable as a tractor. Carl was going to pay the scrap man to haul it away. "Don't scrap it," Roy said. "Bring it to my place. I'll take it." Carl looked at him like he'd offered to adopt a dead cat. "Roy, that tractor's junk. The block's cracked. It's not worth fixing. I don't want to fix it. I want the parts. The hydraulic pump's good. The PTO shaft is good. The rear end's good. The gauges, the seat, the steering column, the fuel injector, the water pump, all good. One cracked block doesn't make a tractor worthless. It makes 90% of the tractor worth saving." Carl shrugged. Hauling the farm all to Roy's ravine was easier than waiting for the scrap man. He delivered it the next Saturday. Roy spent that weekend taking the 460 apart, not smashing it with a sledgehammer, disassembling it carefully with wrenches and a shop manual. He pulled every salvageable part, cleaned it, labeled it with a grease pencil on a strip of masking tape, make, model, part name, condition, and stored it in his barn. The hydraulic pump went on a shelf. The PTO shaft hung on a wall hook. The fuel injector went in a coffee can labeled IH460 injectors. The water pump went in a box labeled IH Water Pumps 300 460 series. The empty carcass of the tractor, frame, cracked block, sheet metal, went into the ravine. Organized, the frame on one side, the sheet metal stacked flat, the block standing upright next to two other blocks from his father's tractors. And that was how it started. Word spread. Not through any effort by Roy. He wasn't the kind of man who advertised. It spread the way everything spreads in farm country. One neighbor told another, who mentioned it at the co-op. Roy Hassel's taking dead equipment. Anything you don't want, bring it to him. He's got a ravine. Within 2 years, farmers from across the township were bringing their broken, obsolete, worn-out machinery to Roy's farm. A combine header with bent teeth, a grain drill with a seized gearbox, a manure spreader with a rotted floor, 2 more tractors, a Farmall H with a blown head gasket, and an Oliver 70 with a cracked manifold, a hay baler that had been sitting behind a barn for 12 years, 3 plows with broken shares, an entire set of cultivator shovels from a field cultivator that nobody made parts for anymore. Roy took everything. He said yes to every piece that arrived. And he spent his evenings and weekends, the hours other farmers spent watching television or sitting on the porch, in his barn, disassembling, cleaning, labeling, and storing. By 1970, Roy's barn had 412 parts on its shelves, hooks and floor racks. He knew this because he kept a ledger, a spiral notebook with lined pages where he recorded every part by date of acquisition, source machine, condition, and location in the barn. 412 parts, organized by brand, model, and function, cross-referenced in a notebook that Roy updated every time he added or removed a piece. His wife, Della, thought he'd lost his mind. "Roy," she said one evening, watching him label a set of Farmall brake shoes with strips of masking tape, "we have a barn full of tractor parts and a ravine full of dead machines. The neighbors already call this place the Junkyard. When are you going to stop?" "When I run out of room," Roy said. "The ravine is getting full. Then I'll start another row." Now let me tell you how the county reacted, because the reaction is half the story. Merle Gustafson, the John Deere dealer in Eldora, was the first to make it personal. Merle was a salesman to his core, a man who believed that the American farmer's job was to buy equipment, and the American dealer's job was to sell it. Every used part that Roy pulled from a dead tractor was a new part that Merle didn't sell. Every farmer who drove to Roy's barn instead of Merle's showroom was a customer lost. Merle didn't say this directly. Why, he said it the way small-town businessmen say things, sideways, at the co-op, loud enough for the right ears. "Roy Hassel's running a junkyard out there," Merle told the Saturday morning crowd at the co-op counter. "I drove past yesterday and counted. I counted 14 dead tractors, 6 combines, and what looked like the entire undercarriage of a 40-year-old threshing machine. It's an eyesore. It's a safety hazard, and it's bad for every equipment dealer in the county, because every farmer who puts a used hydraulic pump on his tractor instead of buying new is a farmer who's cheating the system." Cheating the system was a strong phrase. In farm country, it was an accusation, a suggestion that Roy was doing something dishonest by saving farmers money on parts. The co-op crowd murmured. Some nodded. A few defended Roy quietly. "He's not hurting anyone, Merle." But most stayed silent. Nobody wanted to cross the JD dealer. Merle controlled the service department, and every farmer in the county needed his service department at least twice a year. The county got involved in '73. A complaint was filed, anonymously, though everyone assumed it came from Merle's direction, about the unlicensed salvage operation on Roy's property. The county zoning officer, a man named Dale Lundquist, drove out to inspect. Dale stood at the edge of the ravine and looked down at what was, by that point, approximately 30 pieces of dead equipment arranged in loose rows, plus the growing inventory in the barn. "Roy," Dale said, "I've got a complaint that you're running a commercial salvage yard without a permit." "I'm not running a commercial anything," Roy said. "I'm a farmer with a ravine full of equipment that other farmers gave me. I don't buy it. I don't advertise it. If someone needs a part and I've got it, I give it to them, or trade for something I need. That's not commerce, that's neighborly." Dale looked at the ravine, looked at Roy, looked at the barn with its organized shelves visible through the open door. "You've got more parts in that barn than most dealers," Dale said.